What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel. Happy Wednesday. We're continuing with schedule preview predictions for the 2021 college football season. And today, we're going to be talking about the BYU Cougars. So if you guys are a college football fan like me, or you're a BYU fan, hey, I'm just a college football fan. I'm no expert. I try to provide the most accurate information that's available to me. I know I'm going to have some mistakes, but I try to provide, again, the most accurate information possible. If you like what you see from me, if you find yourself coming back, please hit that subscribe button. You can also leave a like and share the videos as well. It helps push the videos out to as many people as possible. I cannot stress enough, if you find yourself coming back, hit that subscribe button. Our channel has, or my channel, I should say, has almost tripled in subscriber count over the past couple months, which is absolutely insane. Make sure to leave a comment down below telling me your thoughts on the Cougars this year. Only thing I ask, be mindful what you say, be kind to everyone in the comment section below. So without further ado, let's talk about BYU in 2021. And we're going to start off here by, I am going to start off by looking at the players that they lost, because when ESPN does their returning production numbers every year, it's just an interesting thing to look at. Again, it's like the percentage of stats that's returning, whatever. Again, take the numbers with a grain of salt. But BYU was dead last, and, they're losing a lot. You can't deny that Zach Wilson was one of the better quarterbacks in the nation last year, hence why he went number 2 overall in the NFL draft. Zach Wilson's a very good player. In my opinion, really started to emerge in 2019. Just need to take that next step in 2020, which is what he did. Ended up going to the NFL draft, as did wide receiver Dax Milne. I've heard it say Milne. I promise you I'm going to butcher names in this video, because there are a lot of tricky names for BYU. But Dax Milne, leading wide receiver last year, gone again to the NFL, as is tight end Matt Bushman, who led the team in receiving yards, I do believe, in 2019. So 3 key offensive players there. In my opinion, yes, now that's a lot of stat production leaving, but BYU has a lot of offensive production coming back, which we'll look at here in a minute. I don't think BYU is losing as much on the offensive side as people may first think. But when you look at the defense, I'm not going to go through each of these individual players. What you got to know, though, is all 8 of these guys started at least one game for the Cougar defense last year, and it was a pretty solid defense at that as well. So when you look at all these names, I'll call out a couple. Tonga, you got Anderson, Kafusi, Wilcox, Fona. Again, I promise you I butchered half of those names, but all these guys were very solid players on the defensive side. When you look at the defensive line, the BYU is going to struggle, right? 3 of those starters gone. Defensive back, again, 3 of those starters gone. The BYU is going to have some defensive struggles this year. This defense is not going to be as good as it has been in the years past. And can there be someone that fills in that spot at the quarterback position? They're not going to replace Zach Wilson. That's not going to happen. But maybe they can come in and play some solid snaps, right? But hey, it's not about what you lost. It's about what you have. Again, that question, who's going to play the quarterback position? I've heard a lot of names thrown out there. There are a lot of people on the depth chart right now. We'll have to wait and see. I think, in my opinion, it's down to 1 of 2 guys, but we'll wait and see who the starters for BYU. As for position players, you got Tyler Algier coming back, one of the best running backs in all of college football. Top 25, definitely, in my opinion. He should still be a stud for BYU. He moved from a defensive position in 2019 to running back in 2020. Really worked out best for both parties. Wide receivers Gunnar Romney and Neil Pawu. Again, I promise you I butchered that name. But Romney and Pawu both coming back. They were pretty lead wide receivers behind Dax Milne, especially Romney, who should fit into that number 1 role this year. And they also got the Nakua brothers coming in. Again, probably butchered that name as well. But Puka and Samson are transferring from their respective colleges, those being Washington and Utah. So for both these guys, Samson Nakua should come in and play some solid minutes. Possibly could have the best season of his career. We'll see, right? Samson, I don't think it's going to fit into a starter role, just a solid maybe 3-4 wide receiver. But Puka can definitely fit into that number 2 spot behind Gunnar Romney. But how healthy is he? That's the question for Puka Nakua, however you say it. Again, I apologize for him coming in. Isaac Rex had over 10 touchdown catches last year. He should also still be a solid, reliable option down in the red zone. On defense, you got a couple reserve defensive linemen coming back. You got Uria, not going to try to say that last name, I apologize, and then Tyler Batty. So Batty was a redshirt freshman last year. BYU is really excited about him. And then Uria is, a guy that is going to have a lot of experience, right? He's a senior coming back. Should provide some nice experience for that defensive line. Linebackers, you got Keenan Peely and Peyton Wilger coming back. You also have Chaz Ayu. So Chaz Ayu is a player that they hope to transition to a defensive back role this year. He got injured last year. I believe had only like 2 tackles or something, but of course got injured in that first game. We'll see how Ayu plays at that new position, right? It's going to be interesting to watch. And then you got Caleb Hayes coming in as a defensive back, transfer over from Oregon State. So there's still some things to like on this BYU defense, but overall it lacks the big name presence that last year's defense did. So here's the schedule for BYU. They were 11-1 last year, technically second on Independence, but they did have one more win over Liberty. So make what you will of that. They were just second on ESPN. Won the Boca Raton Bowl, of course, over UCF. Hey, you guys know how this works. I'm talking about some games more than others because they're more interesting matchups to me. So if they get highlighted in green, so when highlighted in red, it's a loss. All right, for BYU, let's open their season Saturday night, Pac-12 after dark. Well, it's not a Pac-12 matchup, but it is a West Coast matchup. You got Arizona, West Coast matchup. You got Arizona facing BYU in Las Vegas. I think this has the potential to be a pretty solid game, although Arizona's not going to be that great this year. So I do think that BYU is going to win this game. There have been some people that are saying that Arizona State is going to be a little bit better than what people may think. Until we see it on the field, I'm not going to buy it. Arizona should score some points against the BYU defense that might be shaky to start the season. Could provide for a good early test, though, for BYU facing a Power 5 opponent right away. No true home field advantage in that one. So I'm going to give it to what, in my opinion, is the overall better team right now, and that's BYU. Now, when you look at these next 2 games, I'm going to talk about them kind of conjointly. They're against Utah and Arizona State. They get both of these games at home, which I think is going to be a key thing because home field advantage, we could see the biggest home winning percentage we have ever seen coming up this year. So for playing both of these games, I have a feeling BYU is going to come out ahead of one of them. I'm going to put both results up on the screen, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay, I have them beating Utah. That's just what I had them in my Utah video. In my Arizona State video, I had Arizona State beating BYU. If you want to flip that, I am not going to argue with you, but I do think they win one of these. Where I think they have some advantages in the Utah game is Utah bringing in some new players at the running back position. The wide receiver position is going to look a tiny bit different for Utah. The defense should still be one of the best, if not the best, in the Pac-12. But then they're bringing in Charlie Brewer. And if Charlie Brewer has a season like he did last year, things might not go all that great for Utah. But if he does what he did in 2019, Utah is going to be a very, very good team. Again, just because of prior videos, that's all I have. And they can get an edge against Arizona State. So, Arizona State's going to be an experienced team this year on both sides of the ball, and they have good playmakers on both sides. BYU's defense might be able to step up and make some plays, question mark, right? We're going to have to see how this BYU defense plays. A lot of people seem to think that Arizona State is that more likely win if they're going to win one of these 2 games. I think they definitely win one of these 2 games, in my opinion. I think their offense is just going to score enough points to do that. And while you might say Arizona State's defense is worse than Utah's, I would agree with you there. It's just I also feel like with Utah being a rivalry game and with the past results being so close. I mean, when you look at past years, there have been a couple years where the game has been separated by a matter of plays, like not even scores or drives, by literally a matter of like 1 or 2 or 3 plays. And if it's one of those games again this year, I feel like if BYU's offense is clicking, they might be able to pull it out. Again, if you want to flip it, go ahead. Utah fans, don't get upset. Pay more attention to the overall record in individual games. So, opening up with 3 straight Pac-12 opponents will get them battle tested, right? I feel like they go 2-1 through that stretch, possibly 1-2. We'll have to wait and see how their defense looks. But then you get to stay home and play the University of South Florida, and I think you win this game here, BYU fans. I do genuinely think you win this game. I don't think USF is going to be all that great this year. Moving on, a Friday game, and it's your first true road game on the road against Utah State. While Utah State might not be that great of a team this year, I think they're going to be pretty solid, could contend for a bowl spot. And I also think BYU faces some challenges here. Look, it's your first true road game. I've already talked about how good home field advantage should be for, of course, the home teams this year. Yes, when you look at these two teams, BYU, in my opinion, has the better talent. But especially with the game being on a Friday with the game being on a Friday on the road, what have we talked about? Teams struggle on the road on weekdays. So the home team has the advantage here in this one. BYU might be favored coming into this one, but I feel like, especially in the first half, there are going to be some problems that are going to get caused. Now, I don't know too much about Utah State. I will admit, haven't really done my research on them up to this point. Don't know if I will until it's game time, right? But for Utah State, I know of a couple guys on this defensive side that could make a couple plays, could pose some threats, but I do think BYU is just more talented than Utah State. And at the end of the day, I think they're going to get it done. Clearly, in my opinion, they're more talented, but with it being their first road game, could cause some problems. Have to wait and see. Then they get another Mountain West team, and that's the Boise State Broncos. They do get this one at home, which should make it a little bit interesting, but I do think Boise State's offense is going to be good enough to overcome those holes on the BYU defense that I think they have a lot of figured out by now. I don't necessarily think it's going to be as good as it was last year, but I do think that they know of some guys that are like, okay, you're playing here now, and that's set. You've proven yourself here, and that's fine. So we're going to learn a lot about BYU through these first 6 games. We really are. Look, they play a true road game once in the first 6 games. I think they lose Boise State. When you look, Bachmeier's coming back at quarterback. You also have Khalil Shakur, could be one of the best wide receivers in the nation, top 25 in my opinion. Really, really good player. I think Boise State wins that game. So we're going to learn a lot about BYU the first half of the schedule, because their second half is what could really determine whether they make a bowl game or not. Starts off with a road game against Baylor, and I have you guys losing this one. Now, let me explain. Baylor is an underrated team, but I also think Baylor is overrated because they're so underrated. Like, a lot of people are talking like Baylor's one of the most underrated teams in the nation, and I don't necessarily think that. They're underrated, sure. They have a lot of playmakers, and with Charlie Brewer and John Lovett, 2 flashy names leaving, everyone's worried about Baylor, but they were bringing in some new coaching staff last year. Things I think are going to get better for Baylor this year. Now, do they make a bowl game? Possibly, maybe. I think the Big 12 is going to be pretty competitive this year, so we'll see. But I definitely think that Baylor is going to be able to beat BYU at home here, again, with home field advantage, especially at a Power 5 school. And Baylor, I think, has a lot of their quote-unquote issues figured out by now. Baylor wins this game. And then when you go on the road to face your 4th Pac-12 opponent of the schedule in the Washington State Cougars, I also think that you drop that game. Again, for a lot of the same reasons, except Washington State doesn't have to replace a running back. They have Max Borghi. Max Borghi is still a very good running back. I think people forget that because he played under the Mike Leach pass attack offense for a couple years. And now last year, with the shortened Pac-12 season, not a lot of attention was brought towards the Pac-12, unless it was, of course, USC or Oregon. Possibly Washington, Colorado as well. But there wasn't a lot of attention drawn to the Pac-12 last year overall when you compare it to everything else. I think people forget how good Max Borghi is, and I think he's going to create havoc against this BYU defensive front 7 that is going to be nowhere near as good as it was last year. So I think you drop that one as well. Here's where the schedule got tricky for me. So, home game against Virginia. BYU fans, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Virginia fans, don't hate me. Virginia, I think you're going to be a solid team. But when I look at this BYU offense, I see so much more potential. And I see, I can see BYU putting 40 on Virginia in this game. The defense is solid for Virginia, although it's not fantastic. BYU's offense could sneakily be one of the best in the nation. They have a lot of good playmakers, and it also depends on how good their quarterback play is. This is a toss-up game for me. Like, literally 50-50. Flip a coin for this one. Honestly, like, go grab a coin right now. Flip it. Heads, BYU. Tails, Virginia. Like, honestly, this is a coin flip game. The coin flip right now just happens to go in favor of BYU. Could change my mind come the season, but we'll see. You should get another win against Idaho State. An FCS team should win that one. Then you get your bye week. Yes, now you finally get your bye week. before a 2-game road stretch to end the season. Of course, this is not where you want your bye week. A perfect scenario for BYU would have the bye week in the middle of the season. Heck, that's it for any team, right? But you gotta play the cards that you're dealt. So 2-game road stretch to end the season. One against Georgia Southern. I think you'll win that one. Georgia Southern might be able to make it competitive for a little bit, but I do think the Cougars eventually will jump high enough to catch the Eagles. I think BYU wins this game. And then a road game against USC, and I don't think BYU is going to come away with this one. Although USC has continuously underperformed the past couple of years, we all expect USC to get better. Well, we have for the past couple of years, but I really do think this USC team is going to be different. I really do, with Keontae Ingram coming in, lots of guys coming back as well. The story of the season for me is USC is the defense. I know people are concerned about the offensive line. To me, the defense is going to be the story of the season. Not saying it's necessarily a bigger concern than the offensive line, but it will dictate how USC plays. So maybe BYU can keep this one closer. Maybe can score a lot of points if USC's defense does not look up to par. But I still think USC, with as dominant as their offense is going to be this year, should win the game. And with that, have BYU going 7-5. So Cougars, you're going back to a bowl game. Best case I see is 9-3. Yeah, I mean, if the quarterback plays pretty solid, again, their offense is going to win them some games. But worst case I see is 5-7. Tack on a loss to Utah and a loss to Virginia as well. Maybe even 4-8 if things really don't go their way and they drop that first road game on the Friday to Utah State. I do think this offense is going to win some games for BYU. But how does that defense play? That'll be the story of the season, much like USC. So there you go. That is my BYU preview prediction for the 2021 season. If you guys enjoyed, you're a BYU fan, please leave a like, subscribe, share, leave a comment down below. Tell me your thoughts on the Cougars. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. And tomorrow we're going to look at the Florida State Seminoles. How will Mike Norvell do in his second year? Seminole fans, your time comes tomorrow. Goodbye.